Which Monster Girl series are worth your time? Join me and find out.
That man and his manga.
Hello and welcome to That Man. That is me merchandise, and today we are looking at the top 10 best Monster Girl manga series, at least in my opinion. When I say top 10 best, well, these are 10 series that I like, and they're not really in any particular order. I've got ones I enjoyed a little bit more towards the top. So, Monster Girl series, they've been going for a while and there's a lot of them out there. But which ones are worth your time? And because there is a lot out there that I think are pretty poor. Now, I just want to make you guys aware, this is Monster Girl's manga, not series that originally started as a light novel. At least that's the plan. So titles such as Monster Girl, Doctor and High School DxD, which rightly should be in this top 10 list, will not be in it. Top 10 ecchi light novel video when? Now, with it being Monster Girls, please expect some ecchi. Because let's face it, you're not really going to find many Monster Girl series outside of ecchi. In fact, I think nearly all of these are ecchi. Oh well, let's get looking at them, shall we? First up, we're going to talk about Fran. That's right, this is a series that I picked up a few years ago, and the only reason I did it is because they had the entire collection in Forbidden Planet, and they were selling them off for dirt cheap. And I was just like, you know what, this looks like it's called Monster Girl Titties, I'm gonna go for that. And it was... appearances can be deceiving. This is not so much heavy on the whole Monster Girls, at least the Monster Girl ecchi. This is more body horror, and I feel it's a more violent version of Blackjack. Fran tells the story of a young, well, Frankenstein girl who, well, she was left abandoned in this house, and she took up the scalpel and so helps everybody else. It's very much Blackjack with a waifu headliner, rather than anything else. In fact, I kind of felt that the first few volumes were really dark, they were really ecchi, and I was really getting into them. However, as the series went on, I kind of just lost interest. As it went on, you could tell that they were trying to get people in via the ecchi, and then when you were reading it, you were just kind of like, oh, there's not really anything in here. The artwork is really nice, and if you do like your gore and you do like your dark humour, you're gonna have a lot of great content. But for ecchi things, not so much. Fran suffers from being very difficult to continue. It's one of those ones that as it went on, you kind of realised that they ran out of ideas. In fact, I believe for the last volume, volume 7 and 8, was more of an advertisement for another series than it was actually Fran itself. I believe the series got cancelled, which was a shame, but at the end of the day, the series became something that was not what it started off to be, which is, in my opinion, a little bit of an issue. I really liked the idea that this was going to be Blackjack with more Monster Girls. As the series went on, it lost a lot of that, and a lot of the body horror and a lot of the very dark subject matter, that kind of just disappeared. It was a shame. Next up is a series that I have promised you guys I will cover at some time, and it was one of the first series I actually covered on this channel, Yuusha and the Haunted Hot Springs. Again, much like Fran, this is a series that started off really good, really positive, and then I kind of just lost interest. Yuusha and the Haunted Hot Springs is, well, it's about a young man who often gets possessed by the spirits of ghosts, and he manages to use their powers to tackle other monsters, or yokai, whichever seems to be the monster of the day. Due to lack of funds, he moves into a hot springs, an inn, and he soon discovers that everybody there, well, they're a bit occultic, including a young ghost who died under mysterious circumstances. That's right, Yuusha, the titular character. And yeah, this series has a lot of great moments in it. I really enjoy this when it gets good. However, unfortunately, it is bogged down with a lot of problems. I'm not really going to focus on the problems, I'm going to focus on the good parts, because Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs, when it wanted to be good, it was really good. There was a lot of really fun characters, and you could tell this was Shonen Jump's answer to Monster Musume. With it being Shonen Jump, it kind of felt like they were wanting to do a little bit more, but they were restricted by, well, being Shonen Jump. And I kind of feel like that works against them. It's not overly bad, but you kind of feel like they wanted to go a little bit further. Much like another series that we'll be talking about in a minute. You know, the Haunted Hot Springs manages to have a lot of fun, but that Shonen Jump roof, it's quite low, and you don't really get the full nature of what the author really wanted to do. Like I said, there is a lot of really good moments, like the time when the main character gets turned into a soap. Yeah, he gets turned into soap as a shampoo, and he ends up in the hot springs, so obviously everybody is using him and his entire body to clean themselves. That's right, it is absurd as you think. And when it came to the battle aspect of this series, it was actually pretty decent. It wasn't never really bad. My problem with this series is that I kept buying it and I kept reading it and I was like, I enjoy this. And then as it went on, I was kind of like, I'm buying this to just kind of consume it. I'm not really enjoying this as much as I was. And it kind of felt that I could have ended around volume 10. It's still a really good series, and I would recommend checking it out if you absolutely love Monster Girls. However, there are other titles on this list which I would 100% recommend over it. Next up, we have To Love Ru. A beautiful woman suddenly materializes in this guy's bathtub. That's right, we're starting off with ridiculous stuff. And yeah, he unwittingly gets engaged to her. And you know what? It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stupid content. Monster Girls to a stretch of the imagination. They seem to be like aliens or ghosts or another alien or potentially death. And I quite like that. I really liked a lot of the characters in this. However, with it being in Shonen Jump, much like Yuna, it kind of feels like it's a little bit hampered. It kind of goes a little bit too cheesy. There's a lot of times when you kind of just go through a lot of the tropes. Oh, we're going to the haunted island. We're going to have the beach episode, or we're going to have the Valentine's Day episode, or the Christmas episode. And To Love Ru kind of gets bogged down in this. There is a lot of really good moments though. There is a lot of absolute hilarious moments in this, including one of the characters where he just randomly decides he's going to become a mangaka. That's right, I love that aspect. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm like the princess's guardian and I'm just going to become a mangaka. Yeah, loved it. Absolutely ridiculous. However, To Love Ru, it's one of those ones where you're going to have a lot of fun with it, but for me, around volume 8 I kind of started getting a little bit weary. I probably will go back. However, I do appreciate that To Love Ru Darkness is supposed to be the supreme, ultimate ecchi series, apparently. But I still think To Love Ru is worth your time if you want to check out Monster Girl series. There's a lot of great fun content in there. And there's really a lot of heartfelt moments as well. There's a lot of really good moments that I really enjoyed. I don't know, I just felt like I got a little bit weary once it got to volume 8, but that might just be myself. Next up is The Elder Sister Like One. Now this is a title that I covered about a year ago, and you know what, I really enjoyed volume 1. I just never went on to and read anything further, which was a mistake. This was a really fun series. This is about a young boy who, well, he loses his parents in an accident, and he's passed from pillar to post. He's just, nobody wants to look after him. He doesn't really have any family that cares about him. He ends up at his uncle's place, and his uncle has a mysterious secret. The young man, he goes to this basement, and he discovers a mysterious demon, an elder. So, you know, like Ina from Hololive. And she's just like, okay, I'll give you a wish. I'll give you any wish that you want. You can wish for riches, you can have a better life. And he's just like, I want you to become my sister. And she agrees with it. And what we have is a very a very interesting title. There's a lot of ecchi moments in here, and there's a lot of very perverse moments in here. However, there's a lot of heartfelt moments as well. The art is done by Poichi, who is also the one who did the art for Do You Love Your Mom on a 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks? So you know the artwork is pretty good. And if you want a series very much like Do You Love Your Mom on a 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this particular one. The ecchi is rather decent, to be honest. It's not just that. There's a lot of really good moments, there's a lot of really nice moments, there's a lot of really down to earth, and there's a lot of really heartfelt moments in this. And I don't know, it's one of those series that I just really enjoyed. I was really surprised at how good it was and how it was a lot different to what I expected. So, worth checking out, definitely. So far we've had a lot of series about monster girls, and a lot of them tend to be romantic comedies or something like that. But how about a series about the plot being having sex with monster girls? That's right, it's once again time to look at Interspecies Reviewers, the series that, well, we've got some pedigree on this now, haven't we? I never expected to be talking about Interspecies Reviewers and looking back and seeing how big it ended up becoming. It was always destined to be a series, in my opinion, that people watched and then kind of just forgot about after a few weeks. But no, it is what it is, and it is a decent series. It's one of those ones where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to have this, I'm going to check this out, and it's not going to be anything fantastic, and it is the ecchi among ecchi series. If you just want an ecchi series because you want to have something that's just about guys having sex with monster girls, Interspecies Reviewers is your series. It's literally about a bunch of guys who go to different monster girl brothels and review them, and I was really surprised at how unique this series managed to become, because I was expecting it just to be, oh well, it's just going to be one of those series where it's just about, oh, guys having sex, it's just going to be ecchi and nothing more to it. But there's a lot of hilarious moments in here. There's a lot of unique things. They did their work. They've actually managed to think, what would it be like having sex with an elf? Or what is the things that will go on people's mind? Is it right to do this or not? And I really like the fact that it has the aspect of multiple different characters rather than just one guy. I like how it's a few different people, so it's different perspectives. What might get one person off isn't going to get another person off. And like I said, it isn't ecchi, so it kind of, you know what you're getting into, but you know, it's like, it's one of those things, and for an ecchi series, this is probably one of the better ones. Next up is a series that has a lot of history. It is probably one of the first, if not the first, pure Monster Girl series, and that is Yuusha Yatsura. Legendary series. Absolute legendary, and again, less of an ecchi series and more of a romantic comedy by the creator of Inuyasha and Ranma Half. This is about a beautiful space alien princess who comes to Earth and falls in love with a regular guy. The regular guy is just your usual typical harem protagonist. He's not very popular, he's a bit of a neat, he's a bit of a nerd, and she falls in love with him to the point that she's pretty much stalking him, like, all the time. A lot of the plot is similar to Love Ru. However, I felt this one was, I just really enjoyed this one. I just felt that the characters were a lot of fun, and you can look at this without necessarily having ecchi eyes. To Love Ru is very much bogged down in the ecchi, whereas Yuusha Yatsura, not so much. I feel like this is a series that pretty much anybody who wants a romantic comedy can enjoy, and to be honest, I'm quite surprised at how many little people actually pick this one up. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this in the near future, because it's very interesting. There's a lot of fun in here. It takes a while to take off, but once it takes off, it is absolutely hilarious, with some absolute hilarious moments put in, and you can see a lot of things that will eventually become anime tropes in the future, Yuusha Yatsura is absolutely worth your time and absolutely deserves to be on this list because, hey, she is an Oni, a monster girl. Man, I'm doing all of these videos, but I should be getting some exercise. If only there was a manga that helped me do that. Oh wait, there is! Plussize Elf is an interesting one. It's about a young man who, well, he gets an unusual visitor. He is a massagist and he gets a visitor in the form of a beautiful elf girl. She is stuck on our side. She can't go back to her own world because, well, the laws of travelling between worlds are rather specific. You gotta be the same weight and the same size as you were when you ended. Therefore, she needs to exercise. What's so good about Plussize Elf is that the artwork is absolutely amazing. If you like your thick fries, or thick thighs, you're gonna have a lot of great time with this. And not only that, there is an absolutely fantastic cast of characters. It's not just a normal elf that has this issue. There's an Oni, there's a dark elf, there's even a ghost, and a skeleton, and an orc, and a kobold, or plant. That's right, there's plenty different types of monster girls in this, all trying to keep fit, and all having to work out and I don't know, I just love this series. It's one of those series that I was really expecting nothing from it, but it quickly became one of my favourites. It's one of those ones that I just feel like not enough people enjoy it, and it's all about dieting. There's a lot of stuff in here that you can take out into the real world. For example, there's an entire chapter just about keeping fit while you're at work and doing exercises and stretches. I just like that. I just thought that was a ridiculous concept. But it works, it really works. I would 100% recommend Plussize Elf to those who have read all of the other Monster Girl series but haven't checked this one out because you're going to get a lot of great content out of this. And as always, it's ecchi and the artwork is just amazing. One of the series that I always find get missed off when it comes to talking about Monster Girls is a popular series. It's in fact probably the most popular out of all of these series on this list, and that is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Popular enough that it's had not one, not two, not three, but 4 spin-offs, that's right, for each of the characters. And I just thought that was fantastic. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is about a young office worker who discovers a dragon. She helps the dragon and she's just like, come here, just move in with me. She's just a bit drunk. And she wakes up the next day to find the dragon outside of her house. The dragon turns into a more human girl, Toru, and starts working as Miss Kobayashi's live-in dragon maid. What's so good about this series is that while it does start off more ecchi, as the series goes on it gets more and more heartfelt. It's more about family, and your family is what you make of it. It's your friends, it's the people you know, and I really liked that idea. It was a nice change of pace. It wasn't really quite horror-y like most of these Monster Girl series are, and the comedy is a lot of fun. There's a reason why the anime was really popular a few years ago. It does have a few issues, there's a few problematic things, especially when it comes to certain characters. But overall, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is a lot of fun. A few weeks ago, if you asked me what the most underrated Monster Girl series was, I'd probably say Plussize Elf. Or maybe Yuusha Yatsura. However, I've started rereading another series, and I got hooked to it. That series is Nurse Hitomi's Monster Infirmary. So, Nurse Hitomi is, well, she's the school nurse. And while this says Monster Infirmary, it's not really monsters. At least it's more kind of people with quirks, or people with devil fruits, or people with special abilities. And her job is to, well, let's face it, the kids. So her job is to make sure the kids are living healthy lives. And a lot of this comes down to kids going through a lot of changes and then just be like, oh, well, I woke up one day and my tongue has grown out. Or the more I work out, the more invisible I get. Or I woke up one day and I was dead, so I'm now an undead girl. Or I'm a giant and I'm getting taller and taller. And I really like that aspect. I really like the fact that it wasn't necessarily just kind of, oh, well, I've got this superpower, so I'm just going to beat up some bad guys. No, it's actually looking at the changes that these kids are going through. The fact that these kids are just like, oh, well, I don't really feel comfortable in this body. I'm ashamed of being in this body. And Nursery Tomi's job is really to make sure they are living healthy lifestyles. Or making sure that they are living healthy while coming to grips with their new bodies. It's a really unique title. I was really surprised at how good it was. Of course there is some ecchi moments, especially with Nursery Tomi herself, and if you like eyes, you're probably going to have a good time with this one. Shiko did a lot of stuff with Monster Musume, and you can see that he has honed his craft. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think a lot of people who don't like ecchi or don't like Monster Girls as a whole will get a lot of enjoyment out of. And I think because of its unfortunate naming, I feel like this is going to get passed over a lot of times. This is the My Hero Academia that I actually wanted to read. So before we go on to the number one or the last title, which I'm sure people are going to guess what it's going to be, I wanted to know from you guys, what is your favourite Monster Girl series? Is it anything on this list, or is it anything I've managed to miss out completely? I know there's a few like Yokai Girls or My Monster Secret, which are ones I really want to get into, but I've not had a chance yet. But let me know in the comments which your favourite is, and remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Finally, we have to talk about that series, and at the end of the day I really struggled to not put this at number one, but I felt that if you're talking about Monster Girls, if you're talking about Monster Girl series, there's always one series that's going to come to mind, and that is Monster Musume, My Everyday Life with Monster Girls. This pretty much hits every single button that you want when you come to a Monster Girl series, if you want a Monster Girl series with ecchi. A young man, Kimihito, he comes across a young girl, and she's a Lamia. Now, historically, the government have kept secrets. They've hidden the fact that there's Monster Girls. And once they unveil it, they start agreeing to have this student exchange program. Monster Girls, or Monster people, can come from the other world to our world and have a cultural exchange program. Mia is one of the first, and she arrives in a bit of confusion, in a confused state, at Kimihito's door. Unable to turn her away, he agrees to let her stay with him, starting a chain of more and more Monster Girls moving into this house. It is very harem-y. It's one of those series that there's always a best girl. He's got to pick between them, or he's probably going to marry all of them. I really hope he marries all of them. It's hard to pick the best girl. It's the spider one. But Monster Musume works for so many reasons. There's a lot of really heartfelt stuff in here. It tackles stuff like racism, and there's a lot of stuff in here that you wouldn't expect from an ecchi series. That is in there, and the series eventually does become more focused on the ecchi, to its weakness, surprisingly. This last few volumes haven't been quite as good, in my opinion. But the characters are really fun, and there's a lot of really good messages to be had in this series. I will be covering this on a more of a bigger scale, because it's Monster Musume, and I don't think 2 minutes is enough to just justify the series. But it's one that I will always recommend to someone if they ask, what is your favourite Monster Girl series? Because Monster Musume pretty much has everything. Except Monster Guys.